We're up to 142 or so participants, so I think we'll get started. So again, please, within our new normal, if you would mute your audio. Unfortunately, we don't have control over sirens, children, other noises that come in the background, and that tends to be a distraction as we have these conversations. So thank you for joining us. It's always good to be together, and unfortunately, I'd much rather be in James Dunn Theater with you, having a conversation as we do on occasion, but here we are. And so first and foremost, let me say that I truly, sincerely hope that you and your families are continuing to be safe and healthy. I know that myself, I've been using the gloves throughout, and this week I started to use the masks. And if somebody can tell me how to use the mask without fogging up my glasses, I'd greatly appreciate it, because I haven't quite figured that out yet. So we need to take the precautions that we need to take to make sure that we're safe. We thought this would be an appropriate time to get together to provide some updates on things that are happening, both as an employee group and for our students. We are having a special call with our students on Wednesday, and I hope you will help us get the word out on that, because we have some information that we want to make sure that the students have. Just by way of updating you on what's happening as it relates to COVID in Marin County, we are currently up to 141 cases, and that jumped about 4 overnight. I'm cognizant that 58% of you live outside of Marin County, and so I'm sure you're following what's happening in your various counties as well. But the numbers continue to increase. Overnight, we've had 10% increase in the Bay Area. We're now up to 3,623 cases of positive. So I want to thank Chief Morozic for his continued work with the Marin County Emergency Operations Center and following as things progress and providing us updates on that. To my knowledge, at this point, we have no reported cases from employees or students, to my knowledge. But I thought I might take a moment to say when it would be appropriate for you to let us know that information. If you contract the virus and you're unable to work, then obviously we need to know. We don't necessarily need to know that you have COVID-19, other than the fact that we'd like to be able to support you and your family during that period of time. But absolutely, we need to know if you've contracted the virus and you've been on campus. Okay, you can see that I'm in my office, and I'm coming here less and less. I've been here once or twice a week for the last few weeks. And I know that some of you actually are on campus as I speak. And so people have had to come in for various reasons to get resources to continue to be able to work from home, to work remotely. And that's okay. We understand that, but we need you to let us know when you're on campus. We have created a process for that, and the reason we need to let us know is because we want to make sure that we're deploying the appropriate resources behind you, so that we can have rotating right now a limited number of custodians on campus, and basically they're going in and cleaning behind us, those of us that are on campus. And the other thing I would say, my other prop here today, is that when I do come to campus, I wipe my way on the way in, and I wipe my way on the way out. So everything that I touch on the way in, I wipe and sanitize. If I think I'm going to go use the microwave down the hall in the kitchen, I wipe and sanitize that on the way in. And then on the way out, I do the same thing, right? Our custodians have no way of knowing every surface that we have touched. So I want to ask you that if you have to be on campus, that you do your part to help our custodians. We've also created a form for you that's very easy to use and access. And Nicole, will you go to that screenshot for us? We'll get to this piece. We'll come back to that. I did jump over that. Okay, so it took me 30 seconds yesterday to go on our website and to basically let folks know. You can see that Nicole's put herself in there, and there is a form that basically populates itself. And a few questions about how long you'll be on campus, where you'll be, and so forth. So I would ask that you do that. That goes then to campus police, who then transmits it to our maintenance and operations staff. So again, we can ensure that we are minimizing the potential spread of the virus. Let's go back a slide. Okay, when we scheduled this meeting today, I did not first remember initially that today is April 6th, and it was April 6, 1926 that the college opened. And for 94 years, this community has been creating wonderful opportunities to transform the lives of our students through education and training. 94 years, right? And it seems like an odd time maybe to celebrate, but you know, like many of you, I had a little extra time in my hands yesterday, so I went back and looked at the history books of what happened in the last 94 years, right? So, you know, our college forefathers and foremothers, you know, worked through the Great Depression, World War II, the wars in Korea, Vietnam, Iraq, and so on, persevered through 9/11, and then most recently the Great Recession. So I have every bit of confidence that this community of educators can and will, you know, successfully persevere through COVID-19. So I thank you for your continued work on behalf of our students and our community. I'll be thanking lots of people and thanking you lots of times throughout this conversation today, because I think it's really important to remember that. So congratulations, College of Marin. Cheers to you all for 94 years. It's hard to believe that 6 years we'll be looking at centennial celebration. Okay, from there, I want to just, a week ago today, the Board of Trustees had a special meeting, an emergency meeting, if you will, to declare the emergency, to officially declare the emergency that we are in. And we had planned to do that. There's really no special timing of that, but we had planned to do that at the regular meeting in April. And then as everything has been so changing so quickly as it relates to this virus, we found it necessary to have a special meeting to declare the emergency so that the college would be positioned to potentially get reimbursement dollars for FEMA, right? And so the board got together and had that and made that declaration. The other thing I would say is the board couldn't be more proud of this community for how quickly we have and how effectively we responded to this pandemic in such a short period of time. So I also express my appreciation and gratitude to you on their behalf as well. The next day, we made the decision on March 31st, basically, and I shared this within my last written communication to you, is that this was in sync, if you will, with what the other 10 Bay Area colleges were doing, and that was to extend our remote instruction and student services and operations of the college through the end of the semester in a remote manner. So with that, I want to pass this off at this point to Nicole Cruz, who has been a great partner in this endeavor, and she's going to highlight for you where we are keeping all this information that we have on our website, resources for you and information that's must know. Nicole.
Great, thank you, Dr. Coon, and good afternoon, and thanks everyone for joining us today. So I'm going to be talking about where to find the latest COVID-19 information and resources available at marin.edu, our website. And before I do that, I just want to take a moment to acknowledge Shuk Chung, Burton Shane, Dong Nguyen, and Patrick Ekwe-Tutu for collaborating to create the information architecture that enabled us to have all of those resources and that information together rather than having them spread across the various department and office websites. So on screen, you should see our homepage, and you'll see 3 tiles. And the first takes you to a landing page with our resource guides for students, faculty, and staff. The second tile is our updates and resources page, and that's where you'll find the communications that have gone out about COVID-19, as well as links to resources. The third tile is where we're maintaining a list of events and activities that have been canceled or postponed due to the pandemic. And then on the right side of the screen, we've added this We Can Help block. And the buttons here link back to an Ask Us form where you can submit a question or ask for help with a number of issues that might arise during delivery of remote instruction. The buttons below here go back to the support services and the resource guides. And then in the bottom right corner, here is that form that Dr. Kuhn mentioned that you'll submit if you need to come to campus. So back to the first of those three tiles, if you were to click on it, it takes you to the resource guides landing page. And from here, you can access the student, faculty, and staff resource guides. And if this were the live website, instead of a screenshot, scrolling down, you'd find buttons for support services and accessibility services resource guides. So let's say we clicked on the staff resource guide. Now, no matter what resource guide you chose, student, faculty, or staff, you'll see the same quick access buttons to the MyComm portal, to Zoom, and to Canvas. And then below that, there are resources related to learning, teaching, or working remotely. If we scroll to the bottom of these guides, there's a link that filters COVID-19 updates that have gone out by different audiences. So in this case, it would link to all of the updates and communications for staff. If you were in the faculty resource guide, you'd see communications to faculty. And we're adding resources as they become available, so check back here frequently and encourage others to do the same. Similarly, the support services guide provides information about the student services COM is able to provide remotely, as well as helpful resources for everybody, students, faculty, staff, the community. These resources are related to mental health, general wellness, and other topics like that. And then on the left side of the page, you can easily navigate to any of the guides, including the Accessibility Services Resource Guide, which has information for students that have accommodations, as well as tips for faculty on how to make their course material accessible. So underneath those links, we've added that Ask Us block, same as on the homepage. And then underneath that, the COVID-19 updates banner takes you to the updates and resources page we'll take a look at next. And then below that, there is another place to access that form to submit if you need to come on campus. So if you've been checking the updates and resources page since this all started, you'll see some changes that were implemented over the weekend. Thank you, Shook. And that list of updates was getting really long, which is not good for the user experience, having to scroll and scroll and scroll. So we put some of the overarching updates at the top, and they expand out to give a synopsis, and then you can link to the full article if you wish. Below that, we have the latest COVID-19 updates posted with the option at that last bullet point to see all COVID-19 updates. For ease of navigation, you can access those resource guides from here, and you can also, again, filter the communications by audience. Below those blocks, we posted links to the primary resources folks should be turning to for information, namely Marin Health and Human Services, the CDC, California Department of Public Health, and the World Health Organization. And with that, I'll hand it back to Dr. Coon.
Thank you, Nicole. Again, I want to also express my appreciation to Patrick, Nicole, Burton, and Shook as well. This communications module has actually become a model for the state system. I had the opportunity 2 weeks ago to present it to my colleagues, the other CEOs in the system, and they were so impressed with what we were doing, they asked if we'd be willing to do a webinar. So that team, led by Nicole and Patrick, actually did a webinar, and we had over 60 people on the call system-wide looking at how that they have organized this information. So kudos to them all for just doing a tremendous job. So at this point, I want to hand off to Vice President Eldridge to give us an update on the status of instruction and student services. And let me just say that everybody that works within instruction and student services, from our faculty to our staff to our administrators, I just want to really express my tremendous gratitude for just such wonderful work that you've done in such a we're only weeks into this pandemic, and I just have been so impressed with the work. So John, can you take it from here?
Great, thank you. We're only weeks in, it only feels like 6 months. So as an update on where we are with instruction, obviously we moved to remote instruction right after spring break on the 23rd. And while I don't know that it's been working perfectly, certainly it was a massive undertaking, and I really want to thank a few people in particular, most notably Stacy Lintz, also Kathleen Smith, Carrie Torres, and a host of other people including all of our Power Canvas user faculty and our faculty who have extensive distance ed teaching experience, who've really rallied together to help everyone figure out how to, on a dime, convert to a remote experience. And I call it a remote experience because it's not really teaching distance ed. That really requires a certain type and level of pedagogy and training and other things. And so moving forward, we're working now, within the next week, we will have an approach to summer session outlined, but it will also involve ramping up our skills to teach remotely, to teach distance ed, and with the anticipation that we will need to likely continue with remote instruction beyond the spring session. Now, we don't know that for yet, and we're planning for both contingencies, face-to-face and remote, but we're trying to ramp up for more of a true distance ed experience in the summer should we need to make that decision. I really want to thank the faculty, and this will transition into the student services piece, for the amazing response to all of the information thrown at you very quickly on how to help support our students and help them find their way through, as you were doing the same. To date, we have received reports of just over 200 students who sort of went missing in action as we made this conversion. And I'm happy to say that through the hard work of John Horneck, Anna Pillaton, our campus ambassadors and others, we're making phone calls and sending text messages out to these folks. We're hearing back from a lot of them. And while some are now in touch with their faculty and getting back online to complete the term, we are also hearing from a fair number, not surprisingly, that things well beyond the college have intervened, whether that be taking care of loved ones, having other responsibilities, homeschooling their kids, being an essential worker that is overwhelming their time, whatever it might be, that there are many things that are getting in the way. So we're counseling those folks on whether or not they can continue or help them withdraw and circle back to their education with us as soon as possible. We also have had probably at this point well over 100 students who have been referred through the ComCare platform for all kinds of issues and needs. We've been getting laptops and gift cards for grocery stores and toilet paper and other things in the hands of some of our most vulnerable students, and that work will continue. I really want to thank Sadika Sulanhara and Nikisha Dyer, Matt Kent, and a whole host of other folks who've been helping with that effort on an ongoing basis, and also Patrick and IT. We have 100 more laptops on the way to assist our students. And we've been using existing resources to help get them going thus far. It's far from perfect, and I know that we have an increased understanding of the digital divide for some of our students, and this is something we're really looking at as we move forward and plan more fully for how we will operate into the future. I think that you know, the unfortunate reality is that some of our students do not have adequate access to participate in an online environment. So we're talking about ways we can mitigate that as a college, and certainly that goes into some of the fundraising efforts and other things that are underway as well. So that's a brief update on instruction and student services, and I'm always happy to answer any questions or to field any concerns at any point. I think everyone knows how to reach me.
Terrific. Thank you, John. I appreciate it. I can assure you that as we have conversations throughout this process, it's like everybody's doing their absolute best to think outside of the box to ensure that students are getting the support that they need to be able to ensure the continuity of instruction and ensuring their success. So, and I thank you all for that. And if you have ideas, please, and we're constantly sharing with each other different stories about how folks, different colleges up and down California are handling things, but please let us know. One of the newer members of our administrative team, Mr. Keith Rosenthal, our Director of Advancement, has been hard at work trying to find other resources and trying to leverage the resources that we have, and some of which John mentioned, to make sure that we can get all we can for our students. So I'm going to ask Keith to pop on here and talk to us about what he's been up to.
Thank you, Dr. Coon. Good to see everyone. I don't know if you can see me, but I can't see you. There we are. I just wanted to let everybody know that we had started the conversation several months ago about how do we support our students that are in need, in particular as there's stuff that is non-academic outside of scholarships. And over the course of the last few weeks, this really has come to the forefront of really how do we help students when we know that there's more that we need to do for them. And so we launched the Student Emergency Assistance Fund. And with that, we are really trying to reach out to our community, either through our current supporters or potential supporters. We launched 2 weeks ago, we went out to over 3,000 individuals, and the process has been really responsive. The support's been great. I would like to see a little bit more money, but we're getting there. And I think what's great is that we're also utilizing technology for the first time of really using either the constant contact or this new thing that you're seeing right here is a screenshot for the new mobile platform. And with that, we're able to accept donations via text, which is kind of exciting. So we can send you, if you, Nicole, if you could go to the next page. There you go. So you can see right at the top, all you need to do is text 91999 and put in the word SEAF, and then it'll prompt you to make a donation. And what's great about it is that typically if you're on our webpage, you have to drive the decision and figure out what button to push. And so, and where to fill in your information. And the text platform actually drives it for you. So it makes it really nice and streamlined. So we're going to continue to push forward on this. We've got another solicitation that's going to go out this week. We're talking with how do we add it and put it in our website. Any of the social media pushes that we're going to be able to do. So we're really trying to push this out because we know that this is going to be a critical link for our students. The other thing I'm doing is I'm looking at every emergency grant that's available, trying to get proposals out and letters of intention, and then looking at other foundations as well and trying to figure out, are there more things that we can reach out to? And certainly, if anybody has a lead, please send it my way. I'm happy to follow up. If you know people who have foundations or family foundations, please send them my way. I'm happy to follow up with them as well. So we are continuing to reach out to our donors and potential donors to let them and connect with them and let them know we care, but also to give them an update on what's going on here at the college. So it's been a great push here, and look forward to doing more. Back to you, Dr. Coon.
Great work, Keith. Thank you very much. Now we're going to go to Vice President Greg Nelson, talk about some of the administrative services updates.
Thank you, Dr. Coon. Hello, everyone. Just to give you a few updates. One of them is, I'm not sure if you've read it or not, but we have closed the IVC campus to pedestrian traffic. We were noticing that a lot of people were not adhering to the social distancing guidelines that were provided by the county. So that campus has been closed to pedestrian and vehicle traffic except for essential staff and construction activities. We do have construction activities ongoing as part of the essential services related to health, safety, or educational purposes. And you'll see construction happening at various projects. One thing I'd like to announce is that through all this, and I know a lot of students are having a lot of uncertainty with regards to their income levels and so forth, so that it's getting a little hard for students who have student debt to make up that debt to potentially register for summer or fall term. And so we're announcing today that we are reducing by $100, up to $100, a reduction of their current spring term students for tuition and fees. So if they have any debt below $100, it'll be zeroed out in Banner. Our cashiers will be working on that over this week. And also too, if they owe more than $100, they'll basically get a $100 discount on what they currently owe to the college. Foundation funds are being used to support that effort for those students. And hopefully that will help those students who have debt or having blocks from coming back. It'll give them some relief in that way. Couple other items is, don't forget, we have open enrollment for medical benefits, or for health benefits for SEIU members and management and supervisors. It's open till 4/15. So if you have any changes you'd like to make for those members, please get those to Ron Owen by the 15th of April. And just a quick reminder that fiscal services, we are only doing accounts payable checks out of fiscal services every 2 weeks instead of weekly. So it's important that you make sure you allow the appropriate amount of time if you have stuff that needs to be paid. We're only processing checks every 2 weeks. And with that, Dr. Coon, I'll send it back to you.
Thank you, Greg. You were going to address the one question that we received, and I actually received another one in the similar tenor relative to the budget, and and what that might look like as far as potential furloughs and that kind of thing.
Sure. So with the current pandemic, I gotta find the question now. I'll just read it. If I can find it real fast. The question essentially was, is the pandemic going to have a negative effect on the county? And if so, what would happen with that? Would there be furloughs? What's the timeline for that, and so forth? Well, we don't have all the answers. The current pandemic more likely will have a negative effect on the economy. It depends on the severity and how long it goes. We could see a fall in the property taxes for Marin County. While it's still early on, we just don't know the impact yet, and I have not heard anything yet from the county thus far in regards to property tax adjustments. If there is a shortfall, the college will have to take steps to balance the budget. And currently, with the rapid changing environment, it's almost on a day-to-day basis. We cannot guarantee anything at this point, as things could change gradually and rapidly in the climate we're currently in. So no really answer there. I'm sorry, but there's just too much up in the air right now for us to make any hard, fast decisions at this point.
Thank you, Greg. I'll add on to that, in 2008, I was president of Evergreen Valley College when we were going through the Great Recession. And there are truly no absolutes. And what I can tell you and assure you is that whatever direction we take as it relates to the budget, there'll be plenty of consultation and dialogue with all of our units and our participatory governance processes and so forth. But as Greg indicated, there's just at this point too much that we just don't know. So more to come on that. Before I hand it off to our general counsel relative to disaster workers, I wanted to say that, we are all considered, as we've talked about, you've seen this, essential services, right? Education was determined to be essential services. And so within that, we are essential workers, right? And some of us are working from home, but we have what I'll call extra essential, right? Because we do have some folks from IT and M&O and administrative services and maybe some others that I'm missing that have actually been on campus because to continue the operations of the district, they've been here. So I want to get an extra shout out to all those folks that are actually making the journey to campus and to continue to do your part to ensure that we're delivering the services that we need to our students and keeping the operations, right? I talked to an employee today that happens to be on campus, and we talked about the fact that it was nice to get that paycheck on Monday, right? And there's millions of people that are not getting a paycheck at this time. And there may be some members of your family based on the many layoffs and so forth that have happened that are not getting paychecks. So we're thinking about you as well, but I wanted to talk about that. So with that, I want to hand it off to, first of all, I want to acknowledge those folks that are here, that have been here, that rotate in and out, before I hand it off to Mia to talk about disaster workers.
Hello, everybody. So yes, as Dr. Coon mentioned, we are in education considered essential workers, and our operations are continuing, as you all know, quite painfully, but has the benefit of us continuing to get our paychecks as well. Separate from our role as essential workers, also all public employees throughout California are disaster service workers. pursuant to the government code. This is something we all take on at the time that we're hired. We sign an oath agreeing to serve in that role, where in the event of a declared national, state, or local emergency, all public employees in California, including college employees, may be called into service to assist with relief efforts. So the Marin County right now and the rest of the nation, we're anticipating a surge in COVID-19 cases. And with that, the Marin County, the county is preparing for any need that it might have coming up to call upon disaster service workers. At this time, we have not been told that any of our employees' services will be required, but the county's Office of Emergency Services has asked that all K-12 districts, as well as the college, complete a survey of all employees to gather certain information that it will need in the event it needs to call upon us to serve as disaster service workers. I just want to touch a little bit on that, again, emphasizing at this time we have not been told that our services are needed. At this point, it's a survey. Please be on the lookout for an email from Dr. Coon later today with a link to the survey. It's pretty straightforward to complete, please, by 5 p.m. this Friday, April 10th. If we're called to serve as disaster service workers, what we would be doing will depend on the need, but overall, it's to protect public health and safety or preserve lives and property. We might be called upon to do this work at the college or at a different location, either working with the college employees or with other governmental agencies. People would continue to be paid as they would in their regular job, but right now it's just a survey, and we'll stand by for more information. I know some individuals are serving now as disaster service workers, providing childcare for healthcare providers. And I know that has been greatly appreciated and valued throughout the county. So we're all just doing our part here to get through this. So thank you.
Thank you, Mia. So more to come. Please watch for that survey. And again, we're asking that you get it done by this Friday. That's an important thing to do. And again, this is where I always like to say, we don't make up the rules, folks. This is the stuff that we abide by as public servants, if you will. This is required of us, and so I'd ask that you to follow along with that as well. With that, I wanted to announce that today's Monday, right? Yeah, so last week I sent a message out to the committee chairs of all of our participatory governance system committees, right? So while we are remote, there is still important work that is before the college, right? You know, we have a budget to get prepared for. There's a number of other things relative to our strategic plan, and there's important work within all the committees. So we are moving forward. I've asked the committee chairs to convene their committees as of last week within the next 7 to 10 days, and to really prioritize what absolutely needs to get done through the remainder of this semester, and to figure out how often they would need to meet to get that done. I also made it very clear that I completely get that some of us are at capacity. I know that many of you have children at home and you're doing the homeschooling thing along with everything else, and that you may not be able to participate in a committee as you normally would. So we're not certainly going to expect that you do that if that's the case for you. So, but we do need to get some of this work done, right? I mean, the college needs to continue to move on and do our business. So if you serve on a committee, please know that you'll be contacted if you haven't already been contacted by the chairs of some of those committees. I do know, I heard anecdotally from Meg as I talked to her over the weekend that the Academic Senate is meeting. And I imagine that there's some other groups that are continuing to meet as well. College Council that I chair will continue to meet Thursday before board meetings, as we always do. So I look forward to your participation on Zoom as well. So with that, we're going to move to some questions. And I ask Vice President Nelson to respond to one. Vice President Eldridge, I've got 2 questions now, one that I sent you previously, but one that came in this morning regarding our grading policies. And if you could, if there's anything more you wanted to add to that, I'd greatly appreciate it.
Yes, so we've probably all heard about the UC system and the CSU system looking at being more flexible with what they accept for grades, and even internally how they are planning to approach grades moving forward. Given that we have so many of our students who transfer to all kinds of places in and out of the two major California systems, a one-size-all approach to grading doesn't really serve folks well. So what we have done is, I think, set up the best possible approach, which is if a student is concerned about what their grade will be, they certainly can request, and we have permission from the Chancellor's office to extend out the timing in which someone can switch from a grade to a pass, no pass grade from a letter grade. But we just ask that they go into the MyCom portal. There's a student petition form, and whether it's looking to withdraw, to look at refunds, to look at changing their grade status or any other registration related things, if they use the petition form to put in what they would like to do, then that allows our enrollment services staff to review that. And if it appears that the decision they want to make may have implications down the line, their ability to transfer, their transcript, other things, then they're routed to, that petition's routed to a counselor who can have a direct conversation with that student to make sure they're making the best choice possible. But ultimately, our feeling is we should put that option in the hands of the student so that they can make the decision that's best for them, knowing that we serve so many different students with so many different ed goals, that if we have a policy that says we're going to convert everyone to pass, no pass, that can have catastrophic consequences down the line if a student wants to transfer to another institution that wouldn't then honor that down the road. Similarly to that, in terms of faculty and grading policies, we've communicated with faculty, and I think most, if not all faculty, understand the need to be flexible. We're being flexible with, as faculty are figuring out how to teach differently in an online environment, and I think faculty are being respectful of the many student needs that are out there. At least hopefully that's the case, and I think that the button that Nicole indicated on the website earlier for questions and concerns, if there are issues with that, we'll be happy to look at them. But in terms of advice for faculty, ultimately it's the faculty's purview in terms of the grading criteria set up for the course. I think when we encourage faculty to be flexible, it's really with the idea that we've asked everyone to look at what are the basic outcomes of the course that need to be covered, and have those been covered, and are students meeting those to some degree, and if so, then be as flexible as possible with grading criteria. I think a lot of our students want to get a letter grade. I think they're concerned, and there's a lot of stress around their ability to achieve at a certain level. But ultimately, I think that can be sorted out really well by good communication between the faculty member and the students in their courses. And I think we certainly expect there to be a fair amount of flexibility with that as it goes. If there are particular questions or issues on those topics, though, again, email me directly and we can get to the bottom of it and get those questions answered and follow up on anything that needs to be.
Thank you, John. So the other two questions that came in today, one was, do you have any date estimates, projection as to when staff may return to campus for work? Student services staff are limited with remote working. I sure wish I did. I don't think we'll know anything until closer to the end of May, which is now the most recent order that was put in place was, I think, May 1st or 3rd or whatever it was. But so we won't know anything before that, and we certainly don't want to do anything too soon. We want to be safe and make sure that you're all safe before we ask you to come back. The other piece was a piece of advice, and I thought this was kind of cool because somebody offered up a tip. So I'm going to offer this to you based on, I'm not sure who wrote it, but it says, this may only apply to some, but I've had some major adjustments around scheduling my work, homeschooling my children, and getting daily chores done. Making a visual schedule and or to-do list works. Simple is best. You do not want to overwhelm yourself with a busy schedule. It's always important. It's important to always remind yourself that you are doing the best you can. I think that's a really wonderful piece of advice. And I would offer that if you have other questions, we've created that mechanism for you to send us questions or advice. That's great too. Again, I'm lighting extra candles for all of those of you with children out there. I can't imagine what you're up against. But Nicole, I'm going to ask you a question. I'm going to try and fully utilize this process. Can we do a poll and get a thumbs up, meaning a yes from people to see whether this was valuable and whether you'd like to do it again in the future, perhaps monthly, every other week. I'm not sure what would be appropriate. Nicole, can we do that?
Let me see if I've got the ability to do that on the fly here.
Nicole's amazing. She hates it when I say, I have an idea, but she always makes it happen.
Yeah. How about if we just put it in the chat box, because I get that
Okay.
automatically. So rather than taking time
Okay.
trying to set that up, if you give it a thumbs up.
That's great. If y'all would, and the other thing I'd say about the chat box, I know there's been several questions from folks, just questions. We'll go back and review the questions and make sure you get the answers to your questions. And my typical mode of operandi, or whatever, is to make sure that you all get the same answers to the questions. So if there's questions answered, we'll put those out to everybody. So with that, if I missed any group of thank yous and gratitude, please know that I'm thinking of every one of you. I miss you all. I wish you were on campus. We've become somewhat of a dog park and a stroller park. And I get that too. And we're providing an important service to our community. But please be safe, stay healthy, and at any time, if you've got questions, I mean, we're all participating in weekly meetings with our counterparts across the state. I attend a meeting with the Chancellor's Office on the week, other groups. But if you've got questions, please do send them to us, because we don't have to wait for one of these kind of meetings to have those questions come up. We want to make sure that we hear from you all and that you're doing well. So with that, I think we are done for the day. And how about that for a community hour, our first ever community hour that was done remotely. So thank you all very much.
Dr. Coon, this is Wendy Bulkey, and I was wondering if anybody wanted to stay to learn how to do that mask without fogging up.
Okay. Well, Nicole, do we have more time on the calendar?
We sure do.
Okay, so folks that are like me that don't want their glasses to fog up, I feel like I'm not sure if I feel like Mr. Magoo or a pufferfish, but you want to hang on the call to learn about that. Wendy's going to walk us through that. So to the rest of you, thanks so much. Be well.
Thank you.
Okay, so really quickly, everybody has their mask, right?
Here.
Okay, and so some of them have the metal on the top, and some of them have top and bottom. Whichever it was, just make sure that the metal part is nice around your nose. You're going to put your mask on first around your ears. You're going to extend it down under your chin, and you're going to press that nice and snug. Now, when you put your glasses on, if you put them too close, that moisture and the heat comes up. So if it's really fogging and you're either, early morning and the glasses are cold, just pull the glasses away from the mask and it will not fog up.
Hmm.
Okay.
So it's the pull away and just make sure that it's nice and tight.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. That's
Good.
Wow, Wendy, thank you so much. Appreciate it.
There you go, Mary. 30 seconds. You're welcome.
There we go. Any other tips? As long as we're at it, I mean. Okay, all be well. We appreciate you so much. Take good care.
Okay, bye-bye.
Thank you.